Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
helped us assemble. The other thing I want to say is that when you step out to our East Park during Memorial Day and you look at that 21-panel memorial and recognize the 7,038 individuals who represent families and friends who've given their all for our current liberty, and you go all the way back, of course, to our historical revolution and what they were willing to do to sacrifice for freedom. We have a continuum now of 200 plus years of people, over 1.2 million of them, who have given their all to gain our freedom and maintain our freedom, and we must not let anyone forget what it costs to be free. And we want to do our very best to let the next generation understand that, be educated in that, and recognize the privileges we enjoy are because people are willing to put their lives on the line to keep them and preserve them. So we thank God for the freedoms we have in these United States, and thank you, Board of Supervisors, for the honor. I'm deeply appreciative.
Cy Olson. We have a certificate of appreciation. All right, here we have a certificate of recognition that we want to present to Yuba-City High School. And this is presented to Yuba-City High School for your centennial anniversary. The Sutter County Board of Supervisors recognizes Yuba-City High School on their 100th anniversary. We extend to you our most sincere appreciation for paving the way for future generations. Congratulations on this anniversary, and we look forward to celebrating many more with you.
All right, thank you, Board of Supervisors. My name's Cy Olson. I'm the principal at Yuba-City High School. Finishing up my second year here, so I missed the first 98. But steeped in tradition, it's an awesome place to go to school. It's an awesome place to work. Great kids, and we had an awesome year celebrating 100 years. So thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bill Rollins, if you could please join us. All right, so Bill is here to receive a plaque that we've put together for the Marysville High School varsity boys basketball team. And we are one community, Yuba-Sutter here, so we want to make sure that just because you're on the other side of the river, we didn't want you to think that we weren't remembering you guys, or we want to celebrate in your victory. So on behalf of the Sutter County Board of Supervisors, that we wish to congratulate the varsity boys basketball team of Marysville High School for winning the SAC Joaquin Section Division 4 Championship. Your team's accomplishments is a testament to each player's hard work, dedication, and perseverance. And it's signed here by the Sutter County Board of Supervisors. Congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you for inviting us out. Coach Dan Easter, come on up here too. He's got a few words, but just real quick for him. Players, come on up too. Thank you. Thank you to the Sutter County Board of Supervisors for extending to our Yuba County School. We appreciate it. We have a very dedicated coach that put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this season, and some kids that represent the Yuba-Sutter community in a positive light, both in the classroom and on the court. So we're very happy for that.
Thank you guys for the recognition. this was all about these guys, along with the 8 other guys who couldn't make it today. I have a great group of kids and a great group of parents who allow me to coach their kids. And these kids are very coachable in a time to where a lot of kids look for every excuse when things get tough to quit. These guys allow me to push them to be the best versions of themselves possible, and their parents do the same thing. I'm also blessed enough to have a great administration who supports me in everything I do there, and Dr. V and our AD Rollins. I'd also like to thank our old AD, Dave Kiono, our old principal, Siobhan Matthews, and Gary Cena. They've also been very supportive over the 11 years I've been here. Hopefully it won't take us another 30 years to come back here and get another one. We plan on being back here next year. That's the plan, but thank you guys.
Congratulations once again. SOPA. Come on down. So for those of you who don't know, that this past Saturday, SOPA celebrated a 20th anniversary for SOPA Thai. And so we've put together a little token of appreciation, a certificate of recognition for SOPA, and gratitude of everything that she's done for this community. So to present this certificate to SOPA Thai, June 2023, Sutter County Board of Supervisors recognizes SOPA Thai on their 20th anniversary. We extend to you our most sincere appreciation for doing business in Sutter County. Congratulations on this anniversary, and we look forward to celebrating many, many more with you. Congratulations.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for inviting me to come here. I never expect that. I've been open business for 20 years. It's a hard work, but it get there. It's up and down, especially when the COVID come along. It just, I cry. And I say, dang, what we gonna do? But thank you for the customer, the friend, the community, everybody. I just want to say thank you so, so much. I hope I last another 20 years if I'm still alive.
Too much it is, right?
Anna Gonzalez, could you please join us?
Want to make me?
You know you're gonna say something.
All right, well, here we are, right, celebrating El Zarape, and again, your contributions to this community. We have a token of appreciation, a certificate of recognition that we want to present to you. It's presented to El Zarape Restaurant. Ana Gonzalez. Sutter County Board of Supervisors recognizes El Zarape for celebrating over 70 years of business in Sutter County. Right? That is awesome. We extend to you our most sincere appreciation for doing business in Sutter County, and we look forward to sharing many, many more successes with you. So congratulations. Don't say that. We need you for a long time.
Gonna say something. I'm really bad in talking. But we're lucky. We're lucky that we have been there. Thank you for all the community, that are with us. They still, we are always busy. I'm real happy to be there. My son tells me, why do you have to come every day? Well, that's my home. That's my first home right now. if my husband was here, he will be perfect for him because he loved to be around all these things. I'm more in the back. But, so now I'm going to let my son talk a little bit so he can learn what to do.
Just want to say thank you for all the support. We have to thank our staff. Obviously, we can't be there every day, every hour. So, we're grateful for our staff. We have the best customers in the world. I know my dad's up there clicking his heels because he knows my stage fright. And yeah, thank you very much, though. Appreciate it.
Keith? All right, ladies and gentlemen, so for those who don't know who Keith Martin is, I hope everybody in this room knows that he is seeking retirement or has retired and but is going to stick around for a little bit through transition. We've developed a resolution that we want to present to you on behalf of Sutter County for all that you've done over your decades of service, whether it was through Yuba-Sutter Transit or the Regional Waste Management Authority. So I'll just read what we have here. I was going to read both of them, but I guess did I see some of you guys' eyes go backwards? So we have we have a resolution that I'm going to present to you, but I'm going to just say a few things about Keith. So Keith, a steady hand guiding two bi-county agencies. Keith Martin, in February of 1987, became the executive director of the Hub Area Transit Authority, later reformed as the Yuba-Sutter Transit Authority, at a time when disagreements between local government agencies put the future of public transit in the Yuba-Sutter region in doubt. And shortly thereafter, Keith Martin took on the additional role of executive director of the Bi-County Solid Waste Management Authority at a time when there was much contention in the community over the siting of new landfills serving Yuba and Sutter counties. And for 36 years, Keith Martin was professionally navigating for 36 years, Keith Martin has professionally navigated the political waters as executive for those two joint local government power authorities, each comprised of the counties of Sutter and Yuba and the unincorporated areas of Live Oak, Marysville, Wheatland, and Yuba City. During his time, transit services has expanded dramatically to include local fixed routes and commuter bus services to and from Sacramento, and the authority is positioned to a next generation facility that will allow for operations of zero emission buses. And during his tenure, the community cited a new landfill, worked to meet aggressive recycling goals, facilitated programs for reducing tire and household hazardous waste, and programs for reducing oil contamination of groundwater and surface water supplies. The Sutter County Board of Supervisors, upon the occasion of the announcement of his retirement, caused the names of each of its members to be affixed to the gold resolution as evidence of the board's individual and collective appreciation for Keith Martin's steady hand and professional approach in helping implement the local government responsibilities of public transport and solid waste management. That was a mouthful. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to, before I pass the mic over, I've had the privilege of serving under Keith's leadership. Currently, I'm the chair of both the Yuba-Sutter Transit Authority and the Regional Waste Management Authority, and I'll tell you that you are going to be missed. I mean, what you have developed there has been, amazing, And but I know that with your guidance, you'll be able to, maybe groom your successors. But we're not letting you leave the community. You're needed here. But I'm telling you, you've left your mark, and what a great mark it was that you left. Something to really celebrate and be proud of. And again, it's been an honor to serve under your leadership. And I'll just pass the mic over to you. I wish you the best in your retirement.
You can see why I'm old and tired now, so all the stuff they have there. I have been privileged and honored to serve Sutter County and the bi-county jurisdictions over these 36 years. I've been blessed beyond measure, and so much of who I am today comes from those experiences. I want to introduce my wife, Renee, 43 years. She's been along for all that ride, so I thought it should be best if she come to be part of the conclusion here. But I'm not going anywhere. This is my home, and we'll still be here. And I'm sure probably some of you will be calling me, asking me to do something here pretty soon. But I've been privileged, and I am honored to receive this and to look back on this. You see, a lot of stuff's gone on over the last 36 years. So you folks have been a part of that, and I appreciate all the great boards I've had, the great city and county administrators I've served under, and the great staff that I've had over the years. And I hope that we see the transit and the solid waste functions continue to thrive. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. A new photo with his wife, please. Marvin King Jr. Marvin's here to receive a proclamation for the Women's Veteran Recognition Day, June 12th, 2023. Women have proudly served their country throughout the history of the United States, whether as soldiers, disguised as males during the American Revolution and Civil War, as nurses in World War I, or as combat helicopter pilots in Afghanistan. And women have formerly been a part of the United States Armed Forces since the inception of the Army Nurse Corps in 1901, but have informally served since the inception of the nation's military. And in 1917, the Navy announced it would open enlistment to women, and about 12,000 entered the Navy and filled a variety of jobs such as draftsmen, interpreters, carriers, and translators. And at the conclusion of the World War II in 1945, approximately 280,000 of the 12 million people remaining in the armed forces were women. And with the passage of Women's Armed Services Integration Act in 1948, women became a permanent part of the United States military, but were restricted to 2% of the total military population. The restrictions was finally lifted in 1967 with the amendment of the Women's Armed Services Integration Act, which opened senior officers' rank to women, and in late 1970 and early 1980s, several laws were passed that recognized the contributions made by women in World War II and formally granted women and veteran status for their time in service, which opened the doors for women to take advantage of programs, opportunities, and benefits from the federal and state governments, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and other veteran service organizations. There are currently over 2 million women veterans living in the United States and Puerto Rico, and this number nearly is 143,000 call California their home. The Sutter County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim June 12, 2023 as Women Veterans Recognition Day in Sutter County and acknowledge the contributions women veterans bring through their service to our great nation. Congratulations. Are there any women veterans in the house? Can you come down and join us, please? Don't be shy. Come on.
Not sure what I can say. I do want to thank our women veterans. The history that you read is very accurate. Every conflict, every war, every era, we had women in the military. And it just took a long time for our nation to finally recognize and integrate them into active service. We would not be where we are today without the women veterans that have served this nation throughout our history. And I know I'm accepting the proclamation, but it's all the women veterans in our community and in our nation that deserve the honor that this bestows on them.
I'd just like to say a few words. Women veterans are key to my heart. My mother was a naval nurse and stationed in upstate New York from the East Coast during World War II. During the Korean War, she was recalled and got sent to Yokosuka, Japan as a trauma nurse. And it's a good thing she was there, because otherwise I wouldn't be here today, because that's where she met my father, who was a commander in the Navy. So we really appreciate the women veterans and what they've done to save all the men who fought in the wars. Thank you.
All right. We the next presentation is the Tri-County Diversity. All right, we got Tri-County Diversity, Unity. Sorry, I'm gonna start over here. So we have a little presentation that we're going to bestow upon you guys for Tri-County Diversity, Uniting Our Community, June 13, 2023. Whereas every citizen has the right to experience equality and freedom from discrimination, and whereas all people, regardless of age, gender, identity, race, color, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical challenges have the right to be treated on the basis of their intrinsic values of the human being. And whereas June is a time to celebrate our dynamic, the LGBTQ community, and foster a dialogue to promote healthy, safe, and prosperous communities for all. And whereas the LGBTQ communities contribute to the cultural, civic, and economic successes of our community. And whereas we as a society must also acknowledge that the need for education and awareness remains vital to end discrimination and prejudice. Now, therefore, let the certificate recognize the Tri-County Diversity for their efforts in providing communities resources, education, peer support, and social events to Sutter County's residents, fulfilling their mission of uniting our community. You want to start?
So I just want to thank you. I'm Sarah Eberhardt-Riosa, Health and Human Services Director here in Sutter County. I want to thank you for joining us here today. I want to thank you for your support of the LGBTQ plus community here in Sutter County, and we look forward to continuing to partner and work together to provide supports to our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the board here for recognizing us. I, of course, want to thank the allies in our communities, the organizations, businesses, friends, families that have supported us and been there with us consistently. And I also want to take a moment to thank our whole board, our volunteer staff, as well as all of the people that come into our center. We are a safe space above all. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. If we get the human resources staff to come down to accept the proclamation. Okay, so we have a proclamation that we want to present on National Safety Month, June 2023. The rate of unintentional injuries and deaths in the United States remains at unacceptable levels, and injuries and deaths from emergencies, unintentional drug overdose, falls, and motor vehicle crashes remains leading causes of preventable injuries and deaths. And the cost of unintentional injuries to Americans and their employers exceeds $853 billion each year and causes great suffering among individuals and their families. And preventing unintentional injuries and deaths require the cooperation of all levels of government, employers, and the general public. And the goals of the National Safety Council is to raise awareness and seek opportunities to educate Americans about their alarming and preventable mishaps through education. And the National Safety Council in Sutter County work to promote policies, practices, and procedures leading to increased safety and health information, education, training, and advocacy. Under the guidance of the Human Resources Department, Sutter County works to assure the safety of all Sutter County employees by setting and enforcing standards, providing training, outreach, and education, and continual improvement in workplace safety and health. And the Sutter County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim the month of June 2023 as National Safety Month and encourage all employees and citizens to participate in raising their awareness in the practice of safety and health behaviors in all aspects of their lives.
So Veronica Baumgartner is our loss prevention specialist. Unfortunately, she's not able to be here at the moment, but she wrote something that she'd like me to share. She said, "Thank you for the proclamation. We have department safety representatives throughout the county. There's about 30 countywide. These individuals are boots on the ground, helping our department stay in compliance with a lot of OSHA safety compliance items. And then they are also a contact point for employee safety concerns and questions. She just wants to say that she appreciates their dedication to this very important role within the county. We want all employees to go home safe at the end of the day, no matter their job duties." So.
Thank you. All right, I think that concludes the presentations. If we could please have Mike Ziegemeyer please come up and join your board. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now at the public comment section of our agenda here. Members of the public will be allowed to address the board on items of interest to the public that are not within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors. State law provides that no discussion or action may be taken on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. First speaker is Rick Fenton.
Gentlemen, good to see you. I want to give you guys a little bit of insight into the initiative process. Apparently, the citizens have an initiative pending at County Council right now to fund Yuba-Sutter fire. Are we going to have to do everything by initiative in this area? Because you guys have the power to do this. Now, I can understand that, yeah, in some degrees your hands are tied, but that parcel tax, the way it was written, was very specific and has not been allocated fairly. It has not been collected fairly nor allocated appropriately. And in closing, I'd simply like to say this. I can write a check for 10 grand to a firm and put anything on this ballot without ever having to do anything more than that. I priced it out over the weekend when I heard this was happening just to see what it would cost me. Is everything going to be that? Do you want 50 items on the ballot because you guys put stuff in the consent calendar that nobody bothers to read? I understand, you'd have to go through volumes of paper, and so you do rely on staff. But I think there's an over-reliance on staff. And just food for thought. Today it's funding of the fire department. What tomorrow? Get rid of the consent calendar? Require you guys to sign an affidavit under penalty of perjury that you've read and understood every ordinance in which you choose to vote in the affirmative? Every budget decision? Where does it end? Sit down, talk to the community, find out, because I think you guys are a little bit out of touch right now. I wish you well, stay safe and well, and have a great day.
All right, next speaker, Tony Farley.
Hello, I'm 25 from South UC, South Circuit. Here, thank everybody for thank you for Sheriff Department, OES, the Fire Service Department, Neil. Thank you for having Pride Month. Pride Month's good month, and thank you for the veterans, women veterans, everybody. Thank you, Zachary. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Brandon Barnes. And thank you, Hoorah Marine over there, Marine. Thank you, the nice officer over there, or deputy. Thank you, Steve from McDonald's today. Thank you, Nicholas, Vatican, Calvary, yeah. Thank you, Matt Conan. Thank you, Karen Barnes, Karen Baines. Thank you, Stan Danforth, and thank you, Mike Ziegler, the guy on the tractor company. And thank you, the Italian woman, and a lady got a shotgun Maserati. And thank you, the fire chief, Rick Harris, Pawn Stars. And thank you, Donna Troy over there. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for your service. Have a nice day.
Next speaker is Carl Cervantes.
Am I live? Good afternoon. I'm here. Usually I don't talk. I'm usually the guy in the background. But my backyard's being invaded. We've already talked to the county. We're having issues with the trucking going through railroad. Okay? We have discussed this about a month ago. All the trucks going northbound are popping all the cables because they are too low. Okay, so we had our first round. Last week, we had our second round because now all the trucks are going south. Okay, we addressed this last month, and I believe we have a big issue. I have other things to say, but what's going on is now the trucks are honking as they go by our house. I said, so now things are getting escalated. And I come here to talk to you guys to see if there's something that could be done. Obviously, we know that road is not made for trucks of that size, and it's getting a little old. Sunday is not a good day because we can't even sit out in our backyard because we got to worry about our new I-5 on Railroad. That's how bad it is. I just hope we can start finding a resolution and try to figure out what's going on. Thank you.
Next speaker card, Belinda Mahi.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for all the Board of Supervisors to bring us to the consideration of there's a new bill coming. It's the Senate bill SB 403. It's saying that it's banned the caste-based discrimination in the United States of America. But the first of all, when we saw this bill, when we heard about this bill, it looks pretty good. But when we go more deeper in this bill, it can say that when we read all of this, it's not good for us. So, especially that bill is targeting the South Asian community. They said that we don't need any caste-based discrimination here. Where the caste does not exist, we don't need any caste-based bill in this country. Because I'm here from 24 years in United States of America. Nobody asked my caste. Nobody asked my religion, that where are you from, what are you doing, blah, blah, like that. So we don't want this bill here anymore. Because there's some people from India, they're just giving United States government the wrong data. They're saying that 67% of the South Asian community is discriminated as a caste base. But that's the very big number, 67%. It's never going to happen. And also they're saying that the one and the fourth children is discriminated in the higher education, like in the universities and in higher educational institutions. That's not even right. Because we are here, a lot of people whose kids are coming back from universities. Even my daughter, she just graduated last year from UC Berkeley. And I asked her that, did somebody ask you your caste? She said, no, never, ever. And I just said, is this happened to your all the other friends? She said, no. So I don't know where from they get that data, so they're producing in front of the United States, like the state government. And they are giving the references of two cases. The one happened in the Cisco, they said is the caste-based case. But that Cisco case is already dismissed by the Santa Clara Court in April 2023. And also the other one, they're talking about in Washington, the Seattle City Council passed this bill against caste-based discrimination.
Sorry, your time is up. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next speaker is Satnam Singh.
Thank you. I know it's 3 minutes, really short, but excuse me a little bit, because I just want to impress everything, what I got to say, if you would mind. My name is Satnam Singh on behalf of the Indian community here to talk about the bill, like Mr. Mahi said. Bill 403 making its way to State Assembly. This bill is add to caste as a protected class with race, genders, sex, religion, etc. to give you background caste system. The oppression of India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, it is bad to those higher caste to keep the lower caste out of the workforce and outskirts of society. It is backward and poisoning system that we left in India. Many of us left India, this system behind to come to America, where we could recognize for our action and merit, not a caste. We thank Senator Behab bring this bill, but this caste is terrible. However, this bill does not help practice, only theory. As before the bill bring the system in Jews essay the practice, it implication that we cannot even begin to understand. We are trying to look at the effect of this bill 5 to 10 years down the line. It is going to divide our community and create more problem. So there is serious problem that this can arise as we're trying to classify and document caste, especially future generation who are moving further away from old system. We should focus on the community desire and move from the caste. There are a number of red flags with this bill. This bill began supporting of Quality Lab, and they have falsified data. So they say 67% this is wrong. So caste-based discrimination, this state, 1/4 the Asian student higher education face caste discrimination. The communities in the Yuba City process this bill. I'm opposing this bill. Sikh temple in Yuba City and the surrounding area also written letter to opposition. Why? Because we have never seen any report of discrimination. Hundreds of children across all caste backgrounds are flourishing in high education, but we have not heard a single complaint. There is no valid proof. The sporting side even wrote fraudulent letter from the temple of fake support of bill. Caste-based vice is real and it is happening with the Indian community. It is wrong and it should be addressed. Yet, it is a community issue, not a need to be handled by the government. One of the letter of the bill said many people of Uber driver, truck driver face discrimination. I have been in this country for 40 years. Yes, Sikh and Indian face discrimination based on their race.
Excuse me.
I would be here to story people who people are being denied across the because of the caste.
Sorry, your time is up. Sorry.
Could you just 1 minute, please?
No, sorry. The rules are set for everyone. Sorry.
Well, thank you very much. Hopefully, we have regulations about that soon. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Liz Cervantes.
Hi. It's June 13th.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But please do not eat up my time because 3 minutes is just not enough, right? So I'd like to welcome Supervisor Ziegenmeyer and point out to you, buddy, how inconvenient of a time 3 p.m. is. All of you have full-time jobs, right? Please consider moving the meeting time. You're wearing me down. Mr. Fenton brought up the Citizens Initiative. That is particularly interesting to me since I was called out publicly by a supervisor to lead the charge, right, on protecting Sutter County fire in the unincorporated areas of Sutter County. So we did that. But I would like to ask you, and you, who will publicly today support the Citizens Initiative to save Sutter County fire? That's the answer I expected. But I'm available all day, all night. Ask Neil Hay, who devoted nearly 2 hours to me today as I vented, complained, but I digress. So we have with us today a city councilwoman person. I'm not exactly sure which pronoun to use. Ashley Hernandez is here from the great city of Live Oak. Last Wednesday, I drove my rear up to Live Oak City Council Nick McKelly can attest that I was there. I was in the front row to support that guy in his department as he groveled in front of that city council. And what I'm wondering is, Steve Smith, what are you doing? Okay? That shouldn't, I want him doing sheriff work. You feel me? I need him. We all need our law enforcement and fire. So after the meeting, y'all got my number. Text me. I want to know which one of you is going to support it, and I'll broadcast it. My last project, civil grand jury. They are in the process of impaneling their jury, and we are going to flood them with a request to subpoena Donna Johnston's office with the eligibility worker in Sutter County, non-citizen voters. Thank you.
Thank you. Council? So I just have one question, sorry. That there was a number of folks that approached me, said that they wanted to speak, but being respectful for the time of this and for the board and for those that are here, they wanted to speak in opposition to that section or SB 403. Is it okay just to ask them to raise their hands or stand up so we know how many people were in opposition or who were supporting the two speakers that spoke earlier?
In order to hear the speakers alternately, you mean?
Just so they don't have to speak, they just raise their hands to show that they were in opposition of, or they were supporting the two folks that spoke?
Yes, and then we'll ask the board clerk to count those hands to record in the minutes.
So unless somebody still wants to speak, I think is it okay if you were willing to raise your hands or stand up to show those that are in opposition of SB 403? So, no, I'm just saying, like, raise your hands that are in support of what Paminder Mahi and Satnam Singh that said. You said you're representing all the community here, right? Is that fine? Okay, that's fine. No, thank you. And is anybody else would like to speak on that matter?
Excuse me, Chairman.
Yes.
We should also ask if anybody
Wants to speak in favor of?
Yes.
Yes. Is there anybody here to speak in favor of SB 403? The proposed SB 403? All right. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our consent calendar. The consent calendar groups together those items which are considered non-controversial or for which prior policy directions have been given to staff and that require only routine action by the board. The chair will advise the audience that the matters may be adopted in total by one motion. However, the board may, at its opinion or upon request of the member of the public, consider any matter separately.
Move to approve 1 through 23, excluding 7.
Second motion.
All right, the motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Or is it roll call?
Roll call.
Do we need a roll call or is it a
roll call?
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Zigemeyer? Aye. Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye. Okay, item 7, approval to the appointment of Michael Critchfield to the Natomas Basin
Supervisor Conant? As part of the recusal, you'll need to state why you are recusing yourself.
So I do some business with Michael Critchfield, and I just thought it was, for all transparency, I should recuse myself from his nomination. Thank you.
All right. Item 7, approval to appoint Michael Critchfield to the Natomas Basin Conservancy Board of Directors for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2023. Any questions from
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Oh, sorry. Do you have? I'm sorry.
I was moved and seconded.
Moved and second.
Seconded twice. Did all in favor? Sorry, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Zigemeyer? Aye. Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
All right, motion passes. Appearance items, item 24.
Receive a presentation and update regarding the 457B retirement plan for Sutter County.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much to the Board of Supervisors and everyone here in the community for giving me some time today. My name is Audrey White. I am here from Portland, Oregon, and I am with a firm called the Highest Group. So we work with a defined contribution plans group at Sutter County, and we focus on the deferred comp 457 retirement plans. So a little bit about our firm. We are a market leader in the public sector. So we work with many public agencies throughout the U.S., but mainly here in the state of California, Oregon, and Washington. We are a registered investment advisory firm, and we act as a co-fiduciary to the 457 plans at Sutter County. So we work with many different types of retirement plans, and we cover, like I said before, many different public sectors. You can see some of the clients here that are listed. About 50% of the plan sponsors that we work with are in the state of California. So we advise on over $45 billion in assets under advisement. We have over 160 different government plan sponsor clients. So why am I here today? I am here to provide an update to you all on some of the very good work that the Defined Contributions Group at Sutter County has focused on in terms of improving and enhancing the 457 retirement plans for participants. One of the things that we've been working on throughout the year 2023 is consolidating some of those plans into one. So right now there's a variety of different 457 retirement plans that participants have access to. We're here to really create some economies of scale, some efficiencies in pricing, of course to update the investment offerings, and then to streamline administration. This is really a focal point for the information that I want to share today on all of the good work that Jennifer Whitlock and her team has really put in a lot of time and energy on, especially over the last 6 months. So the current 457 plan providers as they exist today for Sutter County employees are CalPERS Voya, Mission Square, which was formerly ICMA-RC, and Nationwide. So in order to create these efficiencies, we conducted an evaluation and then agreed to terms with Nationwide to consolidate all of these plans into one. So in doing that, what we're able to do is update the investment offerings for participants. So participants will continue to have the same type of investment, the same strategy, but they'll just be mapped into an improved fund. Simplified participant decision-making, so we're reducing the number of selections in terms of the investments in the lineup that participants can choose from in hopes of creating more efficiencies. And then a really big focus point for the Highest Group and for the Defined Contributions team at Sutter County is to focus on fees and to provide competitive and fair fees. So just as an example, there is going to be a reduction from about 0.50% in fees to 0.125% in fees. This is on the administration or the record-keeping side. So that results in terms of dollars of $143,000 in savings per year. So that's consolidating those 3 administrators into the one at Nationwide. In addition to that, by improving the investments and mapping those investments into like strategies, there's an additional savings of $33,500 per year. So overall, for the 457 plan participants, the approximate annual savings is $177,000 a year. So we think that number is pretty striking and pretty important, and really want to provide some support and just an update to you all at all the hard work that the group at Sutter County Defined Contribution is playing in providing these enhancements. So the rest of these slides are just some more informational pieces in terms of the new investment lineup, some of the numbers in terms of where we are today. But just overall, here are some of the main points in terms of the current offerings versus looking ahead. And this transition is expected to happen around the middle of August 2023. So right now there are multiple proprietary offerings. After we conduct the transition, there will be one proprietary fund. Right now there's no money market fund. So we all know money market funds have improved in terms of their performance and their rate. There's going to be an addition of a money market fund in the 457 plan. Right now there are higher investment costs. We are going to move to reduced investment costs and better performing funds. Right now there are some funds that are underutilized, very minimal utilization in some of the current fund offerings. We're going to move to a broader investment menu. So there's going to be some additional coverage there. And then right now in the 457 plans, there's some duplication in terms of the types of investments that are offered, which can create confusion for participants. We're moving to continuous monitoring of those funds. And that is really the update that I have to share, but mainly the message is, just to let everybody know that there is a lot of hard work being done behind the scenes for all of the Sutter County employees in terms of their 457 retirement plan benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any questions from the board? No? Any speaker cards? All right, we'll move on to...
Through the chair, I just got one to say thank you, staff. Look at that $170,000 savings. I was hoping that someone from the crowd would applaud that. I mean, that's a big deal. Here we are saving some money, and it's like, did your pup get run over or something? But great job, staff. Thank you very much. It's great ideas that they bring to the board, and great firms like this right here this is what it's all about. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, item 25, David Reed.
Receive a presentation regarding the Yuba-Sutter Arts and Culture Annual Report.
There we are. Good afternoon. David Reed, Executive Director of Yuba-Sutter Arts and Culture, the official liaison for Sutter County to the California Arts Council. Great to be back. Chairman Baines, members of the board, staff, members of the public, to give our annual update about what we've been doing at Yuba-Sutter Arts and Culture. Just a quick overview of our board of directors. Supervisor Flores is the Sutter County representative on our board. We're required, as a condition of our relationship with the state, to have a supervisor member of our board of directors. So I think everybody here has served at one time or another except Supervisor McKelly, so maybe you're up next. Yeah, yes, you do. Yes, I see that star in the front of the Sutter Theater. Thank you so much. We appreciate the support of our board. I'm joined today by two members of our staff, Abby Cecina, our managing director, and Shante Arroyo, who you saw earlier, who's also our arts and education and social media coordinator. Dean Hassel is not with us. He's probably at the Sutter Theater working. One of the things we do in the community is support artists in a lot of ways. We started an artist in residence program. And what does that mean? These are special folks in the community that represent different aspects of the arts, theater, visual arts, music, poetry, and this is just a sampling of some of those folks. They get a small monthly stipend, and including our Yuba-Sutter Poet Laureate, Marcela Hernandez-Castillo, who's a nationally known poet and memoirist, and he lives right here in the community. So we've got some real rock stars at all levels. Our mission ongoing is just to try to change the way people think about art and culture, to kind of broaden that concept. You know, what does it mean? It's not just visual arts, which I understand our organization was obsessed with 30, 40 years ago. We really, run the gamut of all aspects of the arts, and we try to convey that to the community that we serve. Just some of the things we do in the community, we support not just artists, but a lot of our local art organizations like the Yuba-Sutter Master Chorale, the Oratorio Society, the Symphony. We certainly support individual artists. Programs that we provide, including something you'll see a little bit more about in a minute, which is our re-granting program, where we go out, we find grants that are designed for us to then redistribute within the community to artists and arts organizations. So again, bringing more value to what we do. Of course, we put on plenty of our own shows and programs as well, but more of that anon. We're blessed, I say blessed, to own two facilities. A lot of our sister arts agencies around the state work in a back office of a Chamber of Commerce building or a county space somewhere. But of course, there's maintenance involved. But we love our Burroughs Center for the Arts in Marysville. That's still our home base. We actually rent an art studio complex right off of Plymouth Street in Yuba City. That's our Calacara Art Studios complex, where we conduct classes, and we have a couple of artists doing work there. And of course, we recently acquired the Sutter Theater, now the Sutter Theater Center for the Arts. Arts and education under Shantae's direction has really taken off. There's programs we've done for years, like the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, the Poetry Out Loud program. We host student art shows in our art galleries. So we've been using the Marysville Gallery for that. So River Valley had a show, Yuba City High School had shows this spring. And there's something special about taking the student artwork and putting them in a public place, and then the families and friends come out. We put on a big reception, a big party, and it's, we got 150, 200 people crammed into our little space in Marysville. It's pretty special. The kids stand in front of their artwork and, do the selfie thing, and it's just really beautiful to see. Makes them feel extra special. I mentioned Poetry Out Loud, Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. Not that everything has to be a competition, but just students participating in those nationally recognized programs, I think, gives them a little something else to put on their resume. Hey, participated in, these various programs that are very recognizable. We work with Yuba College on a lot of projects. Most recently, we were on the committee that helped select the artist to create the new mural on the side of the theater building at the main campus. Rebecca Wallace, who had been an adjunct professor at the school. We worked with her on a number of mural projects over the years, including murals up in Live Oak, phenomenal artist. But this was the final piece she created. It's 2,000 square feet. It's one of the largest in the community. So next time you're out at Yuba College or in that neck of the woods, take a look. It's pretty special. Some of our other youth programs, I mentioned the Calacara Art Studio. Sketchbook Club is the youth visual arts program that we host there. Pam Novak, a newly retired art teacher from Yuba City High School, has been running that, and it's for elementary and middle school students. Lo and behold, there aren't dedicated visual art teachers in our middle and elementary schools, in both sides, Yuba or Sutter County. We're hoping to change that over the next couple of years with additional grant funding. But in the meantime, at least we can offer some supplemental arts classes for those students. The Seussical musical is being done this summer at the Sutter Theater with the Center Stage Productions. This is our youth performing arts program that we produce under the direction of Corey Kirsting. I'm sure a familiar name to many of you. I saw a rehearsal today. It was like 35 kids on stage all doing, and they're just beginning rehearsal, and they've already got the songs, and they're working on blocking and choreography. It's a beautiful thing. So that'll be a fun show. Watch for that this summer. Our newest program, and we hope it'll launch in the fall, we're still scrambling for a few more dollars, is our Youth Mariachi Orchestra program. And this is for students, middle and high school, whether or not they have any music experience, but we'll provide the instruments, we'll provide the professional educators. It's an after-school program, so we don't have to worry about transportation, at least initially. We want to grow it. Initially, we're going to start in Yuba County, but we really want to take this, Yuba-Sutter wide. So watch for that. It's going to be pretty exciting. In Texas, they do this. It's almost as big as football. In Texas high schools, they have statewide competitions and the whole thing. Other programs and activities, we had a great series of swing dance lessons. We've got our, about speakeasies, those little sneaky places that back in the 30s people would, go off and get an illegal drink. Well, we do legal drinks, but we've got this space, one of the old projector rooms at the Sutter Theater. It's kind of a fun thing. So check that out sometime. We do special events there. Broken Compass, a great bluegrass band that we will be hosting again later this year. Convergence Theater Company is our community theater program. And this is where we're doing, I don't want to say experimental, it's not that, but, thought-provoking plays. We just did a thing called Motherhood Out Loud, kind of a deep dive into the motherhood experience. Sketches and different mothers and groups came together to talk about that as, as actors portraying roles. Before that, we did a play called Roe, which is a deep dive into the whole Roe v. Wade story and what went into that original decision. It's fascinating. It's not what you think. Really opened my eyes, regardless of where you are on that issue. Our Yuba-Sutter Big Band, these are local music educators, professional musicians, came to us and said, hey, we want to start a big band jazz orchestra, American songbook kind of stuff. Phenomenal. If you haven't heard them perform, they've been at it now for 2 years, and it's really swinging. I mean, it'll make you dance or want to, at least. Our veterans art programs, a lot of you familiar with those. We've done ceramics, bronze face casting with veterans, and of course our Portraits of Veterans project, where we photographed over 400 of our local veterans. Public art, Live Oaks, full of murals. We're getting ready to start again. Is Council Member Hernandez here? I'm still waiting for the criteria. So I know as soon as we get the new set of directions, we're ready to go. So. We've got some great murals up there already. The bottom one is the Japanese-American mural we did in Marysville with an additional bunch of funding that's right at it's on the wall adjacent to the Buddhist church in Marysville. It's about 120 feet long, so pretty spectacular. The mural, the mini murals, the utility box murals have been wildly popular. We've got a couple that have been defaced, and we're going to work on getting those fixed. Traveling exhibitions like our indigenous artist Birds of a Feather exhibit with professional Native American artists working in all different media. Supervisor Baines was part of our Raj Cologne exhibit, this incredible Sikh artist who's now living in Hamburg, Germany. Worldwide reputation, doing artwork representing discrimination against indigenous peoples and other cultures. And just a tremendous body of work. So we were honored to have her here in town. Various cultural programs, Dia de los Muertos, our Frida Kahlo celebrations, the Phoenix Drum and Dance, African Dance Ensemble. We even had a Guru Nanak birthday celebration a few years ago. Art and history, this is kind of at the crossroads, which is part of the reason we added art and culture to our name, to our marketing name. The Arboga Assembly Center, Yuba County, but I still encourage you, if you haven't seen it, to take a visit. It's a little piece of history that needs to be remembered and retold because it deals with social injustice type issues. This is a site where 2,500 Japanese Americans were held during World War II after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And it's an interactive exhibit where you can use your phone to access QR codes in each of the murals. And it's a pretty powerful experience. So it's out on Broadway in South Yuba County. Film festivals, we just had our second 48-hour film festival. And just a lot of fun. This is where filmmakers have two days, basically. They're assigned at random a subject for their film, and these are 4 or 5 minute films. They're shorties, but that's all the time they get. They have to script it, cast it, film it, edit it, bring it back on Sunday afternoon, and then we have a screening at the Sutter Theater. Then we also do a short film festival. These are 12-minute films where they have longer to put these together, but still getting the film thing going, because it's just a lot of fun, and we've got a lot of very talented people here locally. I also serve on the Yuba-Sutter Film Commission. A lot of you, I think, get our postcards each month or our e-newsletters, lots of different events that we put on. We're bringing back Harvest the Arts this year. In fact, we got a meeting this evening with John Heyer right after this meeting. So Rocky Horror Picture Show, always a sellout. And, you know, about the Cotton Rosser project, we raised almost $200,000 for that, so it's well underway. And hopefully that statue, and I've seen pictures of the full-size model, it's really going to be something. Lots of different grant programs, jump starts for at-risk youth. Arts Exposure is the field trip grant money that we get from the state when we apply. We just sent a busload of Yuba City High School students to San Francisco for the day to visit the DeYoung Museum and San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, you know, things they wouldn't have been able to afford otherwise. So, this is one I just really want to focus on for just a minute, because this, again, I think shows the value of an arts council like ours. We're not the only ones that do this, but these are 2 re-granting grants that we've been involved in. So a year and a half ago, we gave away $150,000 because we applied for and received an NEA grant. So those are the list of individual artists and arts groups in the community that got, or cultural organizations that got money from us. Yuba City Youth Ballet, Oratorio Society, Master Chorale. You know, $10,000 to those size organizations is a real deal changer or life changer. The Upstate California Creative Corps, the one on the right, we're still waiting to see which of our local applicants will be receiving that funding, but I was on the 5-person panel organizing this grant, and it's about $300,000 will be coming into the Yuba-Sutter community, again, to support our arts and culture community. Again, not Yuba-Sutter Arts, that's redistribution. A lot of you know about the back half of the Sutter Theater, the main stage project. We're cleaning it up. We're still a couple $100,000 shy to really get that going, but we're going to mount a major capital campaign here this year to get started. We mentioned the stars and the sidewalk. We just sold a couple more, so every little bit helps. Memberships are always welcome, and you can buy a star, buy a seat, or contribute any way you like. And lastly, this is just another recap in terms of art and culture equaling economic development. These are other grants that we've applied for that come through Yuba-Sutter Arts and Culture, but you know, bringing this additional funding into the community to support our staff, our facilities, and all of the support services that we access. So pretty proud of that. And that's it. Thank you. Any questions?
Through the chair.
Supervisor McCullough.
Yes, thank you, David. That was a great presentation, and my gosh, it just feels like every year there's more and more going on, right? So you guys are doing a fantastic job. I certainly love, the murals in Live Oak, and I was actually just at Yuba College at the theater for my daughter's dance recital this last weekend, and I don't think I'd been in that theater since a film class I took when I was actually in school there, so it's been a long time. And the place really looks great, from what I remember it. But also want to thank you for, the Veteran Portraits project that you do. And Supervisor Ziegemeyer and I is now, we're together working with the Veteran Stand Down.
Sure.
And we kind of hastily put one together after COVID, a fundraiser for them. And so we were at the SYO building in Sutter, but now that we're in a bigger space at the 530, we might hit you up so we can start doing that again.
We'd love to bring them out.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then also, do you happen to have a date yet for the fundraiser out of Hires Farm? September 23rd. Okay.
Thank you, Abby. September 23rd. Harvest the Arts.
Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions from the board?
Through the chair, just a brief comment. I just want to commend you, Dave, on the work well done. You know, sitting on your board, it's hard. I think Councilwoman Hernandez from Live Oak feels the same way. But there's so many things going on. We have to keep up with all of the things you have, and we appreciate the work that goes into it, and I hope to continue supporting you on behalf of Sutter County.
Thank you for your support.
And I'd like to just say, David, thank you for your. I like the Veterans Program as well. Many may not realize my mother passed away a few years back.
She was part of that project. We photographed her. Oh.
He was on there just a few months before she passed.
Yeah. Oh my
so
God.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, David, thank you for all you do.
You bet. Thanks very much.
Great presentation. All right, next we have item number 26, Donna Johnson.
Adoption of a resolution approving the County of Sutter's participation in the Electronic Recording Delivery Act of 2004, approval of a statement of understanding with Secure for the use of Secure Electronic Recording Delivery System in an amount not to exceed $7,000 annually, and authorization for the clerk recorder to sign all related documents.
Good afternoon. I'm here before you today to request that you approve the resolution and allow me to sign documents to allow electronic recording. We currently do government-to-government electronic recording, IRS, liens with Franchise Tax Board and so forth. What we're trying to do now is expand that program so that local title companies will be able to record their documents, become a submitter, and record them electronically, which will allow them to send their packages to us instead of having to have their runners come and drop their documents off to us.
Through the chair.
Vice Flores.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegemeier?
Aye.
Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye. All right, motion passes. Item 27.
All right. Approval to rescind and then introduce an ordinance rescinding ordinance number 1701, an ordinance of the County of Sutter amending section 32-011 thereof relating to the Sutter County Clerk Recorder's fee schedule, waive the full reading, direct the clerk to read the title only, and continue the item to the meeting of June 27th, 2023 for adoption.
So this is an introduction of an ordinance to allow me to take our fee schedule. Our fee schedule right now is contained in an ordinance and a resolution. This would take them and remove them from the ordinance, put them on a resolution, so they're all captured in one location. So it's easier for anybody from the public to locate one resolution instead of a resolution and an ordinance.
Through the chair.
Supervisor Flores.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegemeier?
Aye.
Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Item 28, Neil Hay.
Approval of the fiscal year 2023-24 roadwork plan in the amount of $15,495,747 with work on designated road segments and bridge replacement projects. Adoption of a resolution authorizing the expenditure of the county's allocated share of the road maintenance and rehabilitation account funds created by Senate Bill 1, estimated at $6,499,914 to fund road rehabilitation and bridge replacements.
Good afternoon, Chair and Supervisors. So as the title mentions, we have a road plan. This is an annual presentation, and this year's road plan totals about $15.5 million. I thought I'd give you just a brief rundown of kind of the spreadsheet and some of the information that's included in your staff report and explain some of the revenue sources. One, the county has 5 active federal aid bridge projects that are listed, and those are in various stages of design and environmental permitting, and those rely on about 88.53% of their funds from the federal government administered through Caltrans, and then the county provides a local match. We have essentially 2 bridge replacement projects, Mark Hopkins and Sanders Road, that are both being funded by SB1 funds, and that's how they're shown in the column. Those are in the design phases, and environmental permitting We have that the Mark Hopkins essentially should finish the environmental permits and the design by the end of this calendar year. And so then it's hoped that then we would start construction in July of 24, due to when the water is available for us to get in the canal. For the Sanders Road Bridge, it's currently in design and expected to be completed by June of 24 with the permitting, if not sooner. Otherwise, on the list, we include work for curb ramps. So the project has an ADA transition plan. It was adopted in September of 2011, and essentially it was a 10 to 15-year plan to replace all the ADA curbs at all of our sidewalk intersections. So we typically have been doing some of those every year, and we're continuing to make progress this year. The next road or list that we specify is the road overlay. So in your list of projects, we've included about 14 miles of road segments that would be paved by contract. Our staff, we essentially just completed the 22-23 contract overlays for just a little about $1.7 million. It came in under budget. Because we're seeing such good prices, we're trying to go out and do a more robust paving project. Once again, it's using SB1 funds. I think I've explained in the past, so SB1 is an additional gas tax program. Our county was scheduled to get $39 million in 10 years. We essentially have 3 more years left. Next year, we're projected to receive $4.2 million. And so we essentially are over-programmed because in total, we're going to look to use $6.5 million because on some of the past projects over the last 6 years, they've come in under budget, this and that, and so we've been maintaining a balance. The other part of the SB1 funds that's a big dollar item is the $1.5 million that we need to pay to Caltrans for the 99 Oswald intersection improvements. So I think as you're aware, Caltrans anticipates taking that project to construction in 24. And part of the essentially co-op agreement between the county and the state is that we will pay $1.5 million during construction. It's a little unclear to us whether they would ask for the funds up front or during the phasing, so that's why we're seeking your board's approval at this point for the next fiscal year. Otherwise, the other big item is the maintenance and modernization road rehab project for $4.3 million. So that was a grant application submitted to SACOG by staff. Scott and James are in the front row. So they submitted an application. There was $130 million in the one specific grant program submitted to SACOG. We were fortunate enough to be funded. There's about $60 million available. So we received $4.3 million, which translates into a series of roads. And one of the roads is Township. I know the other roads that are going to receive essentially maintenance overlays will be Bear River Drive, a segment of it, Swanson, Rio Oso Road, Acacia Avenue from Franklin to State Route 20, Maroney Road, McGrath, and then Township and Larkin Road. So essentially it was spread through a variety of the districts. And these are roads that essentially the premise was, one, they were trying to service the rural areas of Sutter County and get to more of the business center of Sutter County. And that was part of the SACOG's program and to be competitive. So very fortunate that we received those. That was just approved by SACOG last month by their board of directors. So then they send out agreements and we'll bring that before your board and then we'll be able to go forward and do that project. So you can see we're going to have some very robust paving projects. Probably the only other thing I'll maybe draw your attention to is that in the list of projects, we're going to begin utilizing the county's road crew to do paving. We have an in-house paving crew. I think we made you aware of that. We recently paved Sawtell Road for about 1.5 miles from Everglade to State Route 113. Went extremely well, and so we're looking to step it up, and we've listed about 5.7 miles of county roadways. I will read you a few of the roads. Once again, we tried to address roads in all of the various districts, so it includes roads up in District 1, it includes in District 2, it includes 2nd Street from essentially Garden Highway down to the Sheriff's Training Center in order to service that segment of the population and the community. And then certainly Districts 3, 4, and 5 receive a variety of paving as well. Primarily District 5, we are trying to focus on maybe low ADT, which is less than 100 cars a day. Some are some dead-end quiet roads, but they've been on the maintained mileage, may have not received maintenance for 20, 30, 40 years. So we're trying to serve those roads. And that would be done in-house with our crews. We would start that work early in the new fiscal year. If your board were to approve the budget, approve the recommended road plan, then our county crews would begin assessing things and look to perform the work, start performing some of the work before the fall. And with that, I'm happy to answer questions you might have.
Through the chair.
Supervisor McKelly.
Neil, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I forgot to ask you this the other day when we were talking about this, but did we ever come up with the solution or a compromise with Butte County for the Lukey Road up there?
So our county supervisor is dealing with their county supervisors. Essentially on our side, your board of supervisors has already done the resolution and the paperwork necessary for us to accept it.
Okay.
So we're trying to get
for us to take it over.
Right.
Okay.
So we're trying to get them to process that paperwork. They've had a change in management from public works director, county surveyor, and a variety of engineering staff. But we are reaching out, and I'm even reaching out to their public works director.
Okay. And then my next question, this is probably concerns Supervisor Conant more than the rest of us, but as far as the bridges and the rehab of bridges, I know we're at obviously a much slower pace for some of those bridges that are over 100 years old, but are we in any danger of liability issues with not getting that done?
I guess that would be a difficult question to answer. I can say the bridges that we have, none of them are in a state of collapse. Caltrans provides an inspection every 2 years, and if they determine that the structural components of the bridge are losing capacity, then they essentially make load rating recommendations to us. The most recently one that was done was Tisdale Road leading to the Tisdale boat launch.
Okay.
But no,
so if that's the case and they make a recommendation, you just move that up the priority list and do those first, right?
Right. Essentially, it helps it qualify for funding. And I've been reaching out to a lot of my associates in the public works and even in Caltrans because I think we've all heard about the bill, the big infrastructure money and the billions of dollars that have come in. And I've asked, where is it? And essentially, what's happened is that there were a number of a lot of agencies in California that they went and utilized their own monies to fund a construction bridge replacement. It's called advanced construction. And so all of those agencies that went and utilized their own money now need to be repaid. And so a lot of that infrastructure money is being programmed. It goes through SACOG, it goes through Caltrans, and then it's going to all those agencies so that our department has been submitting requests for funding for construction. We have bridges, for example, in District 5, Larkin Road, Nicholas Avenue.
So none of it's coming directly from the federal government. It's all flowing through the state in some way?
Yeah, so the Highway Bridge Program is administered by the Caltrans.
Okay.
That's how it gets administered. There's very, very limited grant programs that are administered directly by FHWA. Mainly they go through Caltrans local assistance.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair.
Supervisor Conant.
So, Neil, quick question on the Caltrans inspections. Those are bridges 20 feet and over, correct?
Yes.
Now the under ones, how many bridges do we have in Sutter County that are under 20 feet? Because they're not being inspected by Caltrans, correct?
So they're not inspected by Caltrans, but some time ago, your board authorized a contract with a civil engineering structural consultant. Right. And so those actually are being assessed. So we started out with 132, we'll say crossings of water. So it could be a bridge or a pipe. The consultant has been doing some research and utilizing different data sources and has come that there may be as many as 800. And so it's an effort to try to identify and categorize those. And the other challenge is that you can only really identify the structure and evaluate it when there's no water in the canal or in the pipe. So it becomes limited times of the year, but we've come up with just a sequence and a process in order to do that. I think, as I mentioned before, we're trying to get them assessed because if there were some that need to be replaced, it'll be reliant on county funds. So maybe while we have SB1 funds available, that would be an opportunity.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes, Supervisor Flores.
Well, Neil, although I'm a little disappointed I don't see anything up there for the 2nd District, I will tell you that I'm very proud of you.
Second District, from the 2nd Street to the...
But I mean, there's very little for the 2nd District. But I do want to, all I want to do is commend you for a great job. And, you know, I'd like to really recognize the grant from SACOG. I don't think people realize the competitiveness of this type of grant. I mean, we're up against Sacramento and Elk Grove and big areas like West Sacramento who are really aggressive in obtaining these grants. And so I'd like to ask your 2 staff members, I think you said they prepared the grant. Would you stand up so we can just give you a round of applause? I mean, $4.5 million is a big deal. Yeah. I just want to say thank you on behalf of all the citizens and even the 2nd District for the little dime we're going to get. But we appreciate that. And we appreciate all the work that you do. Okay? Thank you.
And you might say that we wouldn't be able to do all these projects if it wasn't for that grant.
No, that's amazing.
And thank you, Carm.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I should note it. Yeah, we should say that. Carm serves on SACOG, and I think that's a really big deal. Or Supervisor Baines serves very well on SACOG. It's great to have that representation.
It's been my honor. Thank you.
Through the chair. Hey, Neil, talking about the Walnut Avenue, Walnut Street in Sutter, from Sutter High School to South Butte Market. I'm just hoping that that's somewhere on this list. And
yes,
what that is, it's during the wintertime, the students walk, well, I should say during the school year, they walk from Sutter High School to South Butte Market. During the wintertime, they walk on the road. So, and that's one thing Neil and I we actually in Supervisor Conan, we talked about in our Public Works Department, and Neil brought it up, the fact that we're looking at paving, I believe on the, is that on the north side?
East side, so the east side potentially. So yeah, engineering's gone out there, the road crew's gone out there, and we've actually looked at solutions with both striping, reflectors, and even the type of the trees that are out there. And yes, so we are definitely looking at Walnut Avenue and what it could take to improve it. It would be at, I guess we'll say, certainly a lower dollar threshold than some of this work and stuff, but it is within our work plan.
And last question is, working with the city in the intersection of Township and Butte House, if you could work with the city there on more of a lit up stop sign there.
Okay.
Both sides. You have trees on each corner there, and a lot of semi trucks are going. And while you're doing some work there, it'd be nice to reach out for them on that, because it's like I said, we on one side, they on the other side.
Okay, and I'm happy to have that. So as part of this road plan and one of the other the exhibits to the SB1 resolution, we list a number of roads, essentially Lincoln and Richland and Bogue, that are part city, part county. And so we have partnered with the city. We provided the list to them, and we're kind of working through the various segments of those roadways that would have kind of a single contract with cost sharing.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry. So a number of folks have recommended, I know this might not be the right time to ask you, but going back to Butte House and Terra Buena for an actual four-way stop light because of the amount of accidents that have happened there. Right, so I don't know if that could be in consideration, but since you're going to be talking to the city about this, go back to that, what was it, Stoker, that missing stop sign that we talked about?
Yes, yes.
And there's one on Cherry.
Yes.
And then a request for one on McCune and Anthony.
Yes. I can share some of those with the city. These two gentlemen, since they were successful with the SACOG grant, I can have them turn their attention to Butte House and Township, because that's out for the county.
Thank you. All right. Okay, then, are there any further questions?
Move to
motion.
Second.
Then moved in second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegemeier? Yes. Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And real quick, if we could go back to item 27, if you could read the ordinance, please.
The title of the ordinance reads as follows. An ordinance of the County of Sutter to rescind ordinance number 1701 adopted on December 6, 2022, amending sections 32-011 thereof relating to the Sutter County Clerk Recorder's fee schedule.
Thank you. Item 29.
Approval of an additional donation of $2,000 to the City of Marysville for sponsorship of the July 4th, 2023 fireworks show at Riverfront Park.
Through the chair.
Supervisor Flores.
I'll need to recuse myself because I work for the City of Marysville.
Thank you. We'll come get you when we're done.
Ready for a motion?
What's that?
Ready for a motion on this one?
All right, there's no question.
No, I think I fully support this. As a matter of fact, when I'm the one that originally said that let's take it to 5,000, but originally I wanted to see what everyone else would do in the city, and everyone stepped up to the same sponsorship. So I think it only fair because it's going to be for our county residents as well. So I would put a motion out there to approve the $2,000.
Mm-hmm. Change your mind, huh? I'll second the motion.
So moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegemeier?
Aye.
Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
Now go.
Motion carries. Now, item 30.
Receive a presentation regarding the fiscal year 2023-24 recommended budget.
I've got a quick question before you start. While we're waiting for Dan, I was like, how did you reduce this?
Read the whole thing already?
Magic. No. Sorry. Go ahead. All right.
I'm only into it here.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and Supervisors. Steve Smith, County Administrator. Assistant County Administrator Leanne Link is going to handle the majority of the presentation, but I just wanted to bring us up to date that this is, for the third year now, this is a regular part of the budget process where the recommended budget from the county administrator is published and presented to the public and the board. And the following week, we typically have budget hearings, which we will on June 20th, 10 a.m., I believe. Is that correct? But already in April, that was for the third year in a row, we've had a study session for the board and public to attend. That was at 6 p.m. to make sure that it was available for the public to attend. We had, other than 2 people supporting the museum and library, we had 1 member of the public come to that. So it's good to see a turnout today from the public at the 3 o'clock meeting. After the budget hearings, when there will be consent and appearance budgets put forward for discussion. Any of the consent items can be pulled for discussion at that time, much like a consent calendar at a normal meeting. And then we'll look forward at bringing back a version for the board to adopt. So with that, unless there's any questions on the timeline and the process, then Ms. Link can begin the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Baines, Honorable Supervisors. So just to start off, to talk about the role of the county. The role of the county basically is threefold. In one instance, we act as an agent of the state in administering state and federal programs. In another, we deliver services county-wide, regardless of where in the county people reside. And those are the bulk of our services. Those are the ones that are outlined in blue. And then third and finally, our smallest role is to provide municipal services in the unincorporated areas, which are done through different means depending on the kind of service delivered. But by and large, the county delivers services from the jail all the way down to WIC services for new moms through coordinated programs that are offered statewide or countywide to all residents. This puts a net county cost, which means the cost minus dedicated revenues to those services. And as you can see, I'm not sure how easy it is to see the blue versus the green up there, but the green ones are the ones that are provided across the county. They're not just in the unincorporated areas. We've shaded the sheriff patrol in blue-green this year because we are providing services in some of the municipalities. The recommended budget book is 828 pages. So yes, Supervisor Baines, it is very, very long. And that's indicative of the breadth of responsibilities that the board has for programs across the county. And each budget in there has been scrutinized. And in the operating budgets, there is a budget narrative that explains what the program is about, as well as what their expenditures are, and highlights their accomplishments. So countywide, and this is looking from very big picture, our total revenues are $461,796. That does include duplication of revenues, and I'll explain in a minute how we have to recognize revenues sometimes twice, 3 times, even 4 times in order to expend them. The largest majority of our revenues, which is well over 50%, 58% to be precise, comes from state and federal sources. We are an agent of the state again, and so that shows you how profound that responsibility is. Taxes account for about 15%. We get fees and, in some cases, fines, licenses that we issue. Those are some of our larger revenue sources. And then finally, totaling about 13% is cancellation of obligated fund balance and carryover unassigned fund balance. We continue to rely on savings from prior years to balance our budget, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation. So just to illustrate how the appropriations work, if we get money from a funding source, and we could get $10 million from a funding source, and we don't need an appropriation for it unless we want to spend it. And so when we appropriate those, when the board appropriates the funds, that means that you're giving permission to spend those governmental funds. So when the funding source comes to us, we recognize the revenue, and then we immediately, or oftentimes, have to move it into whatever department will actually expend those funds. So it takes an appropriation to move that money, it takes appropriation to spend it, and then if that department spends on something that's internal to the county, like IT services, there's an appropriation in IT. So if you look at that funding source and say, this is $1 million coming in, it's going to take $1 million to move it out of the special revenue fund, $1 million to spend it, and then there could maybe be $50,000 in internal service fund charges in there. So that totals $2,050,000 instead of just the $1 million that came in. So the way that we break that down is that we remove all of those internal transfers, which total about 1/3 of the total appropriations of the county. So it takes us from $461,000 down to about $461 million. It's just zeros. And it takes us down to $306 million. So you can see $306 million is the actual economic impact to the county. So it's really a profound economic impact happening in Sutter County. Out of those funds, about close to 50% is salaries and benefits, 48%. Services and supplies, which account for when we purchase services, professional services, gravel that we buy for roads, any of those things come under services and supplies. Other charges is where the largest part of that is where we are charged with the care of other people. It's foster care payments, adoption assistance, jail medical services, juvenile hall, services like that, where we really are providing a service directly on behalf of individuals, as well as when we move money to other organizations or other governmental entities. That's another charge. One thing to note in here that we do have contingency funds across the entire county, and we also increase obligated fund balance by setting money aside for use in future periods. So that's it's something that is routinely done, and it takes an appropriation to do that, and then later when we want to spend that, it takes an appropriation. So when we presented the requested budget at the budget study session on April 20th, we had a $3.2 million budget gap. That's not unusual because the departments ask us for a lot of things. And this is one of the things that the county administrative office does, is we take all those requests, we do our revenue projections, and then we have a gap. And we start to break down that gap and look for ways to bring in a balanced budget. By law, you are required to submit a balanced budget to the state controller's office. So we made some appropriations reductions. I'm not sure why these don't line up. They did earlier. Oh, good. So we did remove a few vehicles. Those vehicles were replacement vehicles, but we actually looked at the cost of maintenance on the vehicles that were being replaced, determined that even though they were getting older, they may not need to be replaced right away, and so we backed those out. We also increased the salary savings factor. In each budget, when we do the projections, it makes the assumption that all the positions are filled all year long. And we know that we have vacancy factors. We know that. We're carrying about a 20% vacancy factor countywide. And so we pare that down with an allocated salary savings. So that let us save almost $1 million. We looked at revenues, really scrutinized revenues, and we're able to recognize additional health realignment revenue, which reduces the county general fund cost for our health programs. We also had set aside money a couple of years ago for a property tax adjustment based on a calculation that was done, and this will be the third and final year that we have to pay back about $750,000. So we canceled that fund balance that you had set aside. We had a rebate program for a fee increase a couple of years ago, and it wasn't highly utilized, so we had money left over in that we were able to recognize. Our tobacco settlement money came in a little bit higher than we had previously anticipated, and our franchises, which I'll talk about in a little while, are coming in a little bit higher, especially from PG&E. And so that's kind of been a bright spot in some of our revenues. And then when we're doing our first initial pass of the budget in March, we look at what we think, we kind of predict what expenditures are going to be through the end of the year. By May, we have a much better idea. And so we were able to trim a little bit out of our assumption for the use of our contingency in this year.
Through the chair, I'm sorry, quick question before I forget while you're on it. But the money that we're receiving for PG&E, that's because of right-of-way usage? Is that correct? Or
it's a franchise to be able to operate in the unincorporated areas of the county.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's
Thank
not
you.
necessarily right-of-way. It's more the privilege of providing PG&E services to the residents of Sutter County.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So the overall appropriations increased by about $53 million, which is a 13% increase. And because that was such a substantial increase, I thought it would be helpful to break it down. And part of that increase has to do with that double and triple counting of expenditures when we do the appropriations. So in the general fund, for example, we had a $7 million increase. And more than half of that was related to the increase in the operating transfer for the public safety departments. So the public safety departments, which are the sheriff and the jail, the Fire Services Administration, Emergency Services, District Attorney, and Victim Services. So when their costs go up, the amount of general fund transfer goes up as well. And so their costs were higher, which means their appropriations went up, and then the general fund appropriation commensurately has to go up to transfer that out. So that's a double counting. And then also Water Resources has a grant-funded study that they'll contract out for. That was $2.3 million. And then we are desperately trying to find a solution for the clerk recorder's office where the floor is sloping, among many other concerns with that building. And so we have a placeholder in there for that. In the health fund went up by $5.3 million. Much of that is $3.2 million in grant funding for the public health department. So it doesn't cost the general fund anything. And in fact, it supports some of the costs that would otherwise fall to the general fund. So it's a good thing. Homeless services also went up by $1.2 million. Again, grant funded. Otherwise, those would be services that are paid for by the general fund. Jail medical went up by $511,000. Another double counting one, by the way. And that's the contract cost increase. These continue to have double-digit increases. And, we're really dealing with a monopoly in jail medical, and we'll continue to see that cost increase. And then Human Services Administration went up by about $440,000. Remember, that's allocated out to all the state and federal programs. So once again, double counted because it's costs in those programs.
To the chair, I'm sorry, can I ask a question while she's on talking about the jail? Is that okay?
Sure.
You want me to say? Okay, no, that's fine. It's probably better for the show.
The Welfare and Social Services Fund increased by $8.4 million. So the social services programs had some growth, $4.4 million. A lot of that's in child welfare, adult protective services, and eligibility functions for Medi-Cal eligibility mostly, and CalWorks. TANF, which is direct payments to people who are on the CalWorks program, $3.3 million related to caseload increase, and adoptions assistance went up by $1.5 million. The Public Safety Fund, largely these were negotiated salary and benefit increases that the board granted this year simply to immediately solve the problem that we had where we were losing deputies faster than we could replace those positions. So Sheriff Coroner went up by $1.3 million. The jail went up by $1.5 million. The District Attorney and Victim Services went up by $600,000. Sheriff Communications by $500,000. Juvenile Hall, the cost to operate Juvenile Hall went up by about $300,000 this year. The Sheriff Live Oak contract by about $270,000, and emergency services went up by about $230,000. That's related to a grant, so that isn't a general fund cost. And then finally, other funds. You saw the list of roads fund projects, substantial, and roads fund had an $8.3 million overall increase. Behavioral health and MHSA together had about a $3.8 million increase. And this is in appropriations, it's not in net cost. Capital projects, we had about $1 million. Internal service funds, about $1 million, which includes projects in information technology. County Fire was a $300,000 increase. That's mostly related to salaries and benefits. And then the non-operating special revenue funds, when more money comes in, we have to move it out. That accounts for $13 million, or about a third of that $53 million increase. So overall, looking at appropriations, you can see salaries and benefit increases. Those are across the board. Over the last year, the board has given cost of living increases. The largest, of course, have been in the public safety arena, and they were simply to solve a problem with retention. Services and supplies have gone up. A big part of that is the contract for the Sigma study, which was over $2 million. So that really inflates it and makes it maybe a little bit skewed. And then other charges, that's simply caseload growth as well as the increase in costs in juvenile hall and the jail. Capital assets went up a little bit. Many of those are purchased outside of the general fund with special revenue funds. And then our contingency is a little bit higher, and that's because other funds built in contingency this year, not just the general fund. And then increase in obligated fund balance actually went down because we're looking at spending a little bit more of the current revenue that comes in. Okay, so salaries and benefits is our largest expense at $147,533,009. And that does not include the unallocated salary savings factor because that's not in a particular category. But you can see that salaries and other pay are about 58% of the total of salaries and benefits. Pension is about 20%. Health insurance is about 14% of the total. Deferred comp is just a very small portion. Payroll tax is another small portion. Overtime is actually budgeted a little bit lower. Sometimes our overtime comes in higher, but it's usually generated by savings on the salaries and other pay side. One thing I did want to note is that workers' comp is down about 13% from last fiscal year. And so we were really happy to see that workers' comp rate finally start to go down. So it represented almost $500,000 worth of savings, which mostly occurs in the public safety departments. So here, this shows you salaries and benefits by fund. And what's really interesting here is if you look at Behavioral Health and Mental Health Services Act together, those total about 20% of our total salaries and benefits. That actually has been passed for the first time by public safety. Our public safety salaries and benefits, and those are just in the public safety fund, is now 21% of the total. When you combine that with trial courts, which is also a public safety fund group, that totals over 27% of our total salaries and benefits, but you're actually talking a smaller number of employees. There are just a few positions that were recommended in this year's budget for a total of 3.57 FTE gain. You might wonder why that's a strange number, but it's because of a deletion of a 0.43 position in Health and Human Services. The sheriff has requested to add 2 positions. County Admin Emergency Services has requested a limited term position that's grant funded. The district attorney requested 1 position. It's funded by CCP. And the sheriff's positions also were funding mostly outside of the general fund. The assessor requested 1 position. That's for succession. And child support services, as you know, as those are moved over to Yolo County, we delete the positions as they become vacant. So we have a net gain of 3.57 positions.
Excuse me. We're trying to pay attention to this presentation. If you could please lower your voice or take conversation outside. It's distracting. Everybody's trying to follow along. Thank you.
Total county positions are nearly 1,090 positions. This slide is unfunded pension liability, and so it shows you that naturally we'll pay off by about 2043 our unfunded liability. The unfunded liability incrementally goes down each year, so after 24-25 we'll actually see that decreasing a little bit each year. This chart also assumes that we continue to put $1 million a year into our public agency retirement services fund. That's our PARS fund. It's a Section 115 plan. We can only spend those funds on retirement-related costs, but as we build up the balance in there, we're getting a better return on investment. So we're actually pretty conservative and assume a 4% return on investment, which is really close to what we're getting this year. But as the market rebounds, ultimately we'll see a better return on that investment, and that green line should go up a little bit steeper. Right now, the unfunded liability is $112 million. That's substantially less than it was last year, and that has to do with the June 30th, 2021 valuation from CalPERS. CalPERS had an extraordinarily good year that year. It caused the discount rate, which is the assumed rate of return, to go down from 7% to 6.8% to be more conservative because there was such a gain in the market. Unfortunately, at June 30th, 2022, the CalPERS had an extraordinarily bad year. And so we don't see that because we're 2 years behind on the pension liability, but we will see that when we get the new pension statement in August of this year. What will happen is it's going to take the nexus of the two, of the PARS account and the PERS account, and probably move it over a year or two. But the best news is that it will increase the payment, and we still will pay off somewhere around 2043 or 2044. And we'll always have some sort of unfunded liability because unfunded liability represents gains and losses in the market. And so we're always going to have a little bit, but the bulk of it will be paid off in my lifetime. I put a few capital projects. This isn't an exhaustive list because we'll go over these in greater length when we do the budget hearings next week. But I wanted to just point out that we do have some continuing projects, and then we do have a few new projects. One, of course, includes the clerk recorder building remodel. We're going to put new flooring in Edel Hall. Edel Hall is actually projected to turn a profit this year, which is the first time we've seen that in a very long time. So we thought if we invest in new flooring in there, it might make it more saleable in terms of people wanting to use it and pay for its use. We have a sheriff's dispatch center remodel, and then the big roads projects, which are in italics here, are shown up there, and I won't go into those because Neil talked about most of those. So now moving on to the general fund. The general fund revenues total about $80 million, and these are the revenues that are more controlled at the local level. You can see that most of that, almost half of it, comes from taxes. We also have charges for services. Within the general fund, we have a lot of departments like our building and planning departments that charge. When you go to get a passport from Donna Johnston's office, that fee goes into the charges for services. So that's our second largest revenue category there. And then intergovernmental state revenues, we have a little bit there, a little bit of federal revenue, license permits and fees. But 14.4% of our revenues in the general fund, which supports all of the general fund costs, which include the transfers to the public safety fund, to the trial court fund, to the health fund, and to the social services fund, are included in there. This is just quickly, and this is all in your budget book. This shows the growth in property taxes, and as you can see, the growth is pretty flat. We aren't seeing a lot of huge growth, even though properties increase in value. We don't see that increase until the property actually changes hands. And so even if a property's value increases by 10% in a year, the maximum that it can increase on its assessed valuation is 2% per year. That's a Prop 13 guarantee, and that's not going away. But it does cause property taxes to be a little bit flat. Sales tax revenue is actually projected to go down this year. We're seeing a softening in the market. We also saw the shift from the point of sale being your front porch on online purchases to it being the distribution center, which once again, that's why it's so crucial for us to get the infrastructure in for Sutter Point so that we can get those big distribution centers and we can try to claw back some of that sales tax that's leaving our county. This is the other discretionary sources, and I just would point you to the gray line. That's our franchises, and I was surprised when I saw the amount of franchise revenue that came in this year. It just has grown tremendously, and it is a steady source of income for us, and so it does support all of those countywide functions that the general fund is responsible for. This is the cost recovery plan revenue, and so we talk about in the general fund departments, the central service type departments, so the auditor, the treasurer, the county administrator, human resources, those departments, we actually bill back that money to our state and federal programs. And we saw that go up for a while, and what happened is as we've become leaner and leaner, it plays out here that there's not as much for us to actually collect back. We also had to change our methodology of allocating those costs and what we charge those to, which did have some impact on this as well. So we're going to see it go up a little bit this year, but not a tremendous amount, and certainly not up to the 2019-20 high. This is the general fund appropriations chart, and so it will show you that about 40% of the total general fund appropriations are the transfer to public safety and trial courts. You'll see salaries and benefits. Those are for those general fund departments, from the county administrator's office to the assessor's office to planning and building. So, I mean, we see it in across all of those general fund departments. Services and supplies we talked a little bit about earlier. You'll see that contingency is set at $1.4 million, and I'll talk about that in just a few slides. Our debt service is very, very low, especially for a county of this size. I think that that's something that you can be very proud of. We do not rely on borrowing in order to balance our budgets or to make big purchases. So for me, this one's the money shot. This is the policy shot. So you have general fund revenues, totally discretionary or nearly totally discretionary to the board, of about $63 million. And this is where you allocate them. So if you'll notice that half of the money that the board spends is for public safety programs. When we combine trial court and public safety funds together, half goes to public safety. General services receives about 8%. General government, of course, those departments that we talked about, is about 23%. Health and Human Services gets about 8%, keeping in mind that that does include our homeless services, and it also includes the cost of the jail medical is in that budget unit. The library and museum are 3%, and contingency is about 2%. Ag Commissioner and Farm Advisor amount to about 3%. Development Services is also about 3% because they generate a whole lot of their own revenue. So a couple of years ago, the board adopted its budget and finance policy, and in that you adopted standards for increasing our reserves and our contingency. And the contingency is an appropriation that we can go to if we have an unexpected expense during the year. It gives us something immediate that we can use. The reserves themselves, which are set at 5% of net general fund, so it's the general fund appropriations minus some items such as the contingency contribution and any increases in reserves. So those are set at about $4.2 million each for the general reserve and for the budget stabilization. And over the last few years, we've increased these by about $4 million. This is our cushion. This carries our cash flow, and because a lot of our revenues don't come in until December or January, our property tax revenue we don't recognize until the end of January, so we're carrying all of that cost for the first 6 months or 7 months of the year. We are not yet at our targets, and this isn't the target that we would set. It was an intermediate step to really build up our reserves. And so, but we're getting closer, and this year's budget includes a $1 million increase. in the reserve. So 500,000 to the general reserve and 500,000 to the budget stabilization. The contingency target is set at 3% of general fund net appropriations, and that's about $2.5 million. And each year we increase the contingency by about $200,000. So we've gone from about $800,000 a few years ago up to $1.4 million. If we don't spend that during the year, that just falls to unassigned fund balance and is available for appropriation in a subsequent year. So with that, I think you've probably heard enough from me, and I'm going to return it over to Steve so that he can talk about the areas of concern that we have and some of the opportunities.
Thank you, Leanne. Excellent job and very thorough. Appreciated. So as it notes on the slide, we have a few areas of concern. We have a continued structural imbalance. So even in the best of times, it is difficult to balance a county budget, but with inflation and in a county where there's very little development due to the flood zones, that there's more flood zone in Sutter County than any other California county by far, makes development difficult. There hasn't been a reduction in demand for services, and we have a low employees per capita. Sutter County has the second lowest employees per capita of the 31 counties in California with a population under 200,000. So that means less staff are doing more work. Public safety, the growing costs there, that has been a major challenge, and a lot of that is from when the state realigned local jails. I hope that wasn't me. And for instance, over the past 10 years or so, jail medical costs have gone up about 10 times, from $380,000 to about $3.8 million. Along with that, we're looking at trying to cover our costs fairly in areas where we still patrol in annexed areas of Yuba City, and in Live Oak, for instance. There was an article recently in the paper about the Live Oak and sheriff patrol there, and it can be difficult to interpret some of that, but what we're looking at from the sheriff's office is Live Oak comprises about 25% of the county's calls overall, and dispatch services are not included in the current contract. So the $270,000 increase that you saw earlier that Leanne mentioned for Live Oak services does not include dispatch. That's just salaries and benefits, primarily for salaries and benefits for the deputies and other staff working for Live Oak PD. I think, to be fair to the city of Live Oak, they need some time to digest the figure, because it is a significant increase for them, but we also want to be certain that we're not offsetting costs for another jurisdiction. I won't go over every single item. We have, as always, cost shifts from the state and concerns there. You'll notice IST costs, that's incompetent to stand trial. The Department of State Hospitals put a cap on counties for how many people can go to a state hospital. I believe ours is around 13 or 15, that cap. So for every person that would be sent to a state hospital on a full conservatorship, or they're unable to stand trial, any over the cap, the state will charge us approximately $160,000 per person. They may give that money back if we spend it the way they want us to spend it. So it's just another money grab from the state where they're trying to work around Prop 1A from 2004. The next slide, there's labor market challenges. We know we have about a 20% vacancy rate as a whole in the county. Thankfully, that's improved some in some departments, specifically public safety, with some of the raises that were given over the past year and a half. There's still significant vacancy rates, but public safety has come up or come down from 20% down to around 12 to 15%. We continue to lose key staff to surrounding jurisdictions, including Butte, Placer, Sacramento, and Yolo counties, and special districts as well. County fire is still a concern, of course. Revenues are not supporting the level of service provided. Staff did apply for a SAFER grant. That would be a 4-year grant if awarded. We'll find out this fall, and there's no match. There used to be a match for that in the past. So, and then also our fire chief today went and spoke at in Sacramento for legislation to include CSAs in certain grant programs the county fire districts, independent districts, are eligible for, and got 100% support on that. So great job to our chief. There's also, as mentioned earlier, a citizens initiative in process. So if that qualifies for the ballot, then that could potentially solve an ongoing funding problem for county fire. Homelessness costs continue to increase. We're close to an agreement with Yuba City on the 2nd Street campsite, and working on additional services. And finally, county facilities. We have aging facilities with costly repairs. Thankfully, staff have accomplished several critical roofing projects, but many facilities are still not ideal in form and function. Also, regarding facilities, we have a firm retained now for the Surplus Land Act process, moving forward that the board approved a couple months ago. If the Gray Avenue complex were to be sold, funds can contribute to other significant projects for HHS, and we're also focused on district attorney and clerk recorder facilities as well. So we do have some areas of opportunity. We have Sutter Point, an opportunity to grow there. We have a close to awarding for a consultant to work on the county facility districts for Sutter Point development. So that's another just step in the right direction for development to happen, whether it's industrial, commercial, or residential in Sutter Point. And we have some money remaining, $2.3 million from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, that has to be spent, or at least, I think by December 31, 2024, it has to be encumbered, right? So of the $18.8 million, about $13.5 went towards covering public safety costs, including fire, $1.25 million for cybersecurity, and $900,000 in economic resiliency grants for local businesses. I know the board, through both CARES and American Rescue Plan Act, was key to keeping many small businesses going. So other than that, and obviously we'll take questions, and if anyone has a question or they remember after this meeting, we do have budget hearings next week, so we'll have the opportunity to answer more questions then. But for now, the presentation's concluded, and we're happy to have discussion about the budget.
Through the chair.
Supervisor McCulley.
Do we want to should we just discuss it at the budget hearings, or do we? Okay, I'll just make notes and we'll move on. Okay, thank you.
Through the chair. Quick thank you to staff. Thank you for getting us everything we needed throughout this whole process. I really appreciate that.
So then again, I just have a quick question for Leanne. Has anybody from the public ever asked to sit down with you to go over the budget?
Sadly, no. I feel a little lonely sometimes.
It was very sad. I just want to thank you for always answering all the questions that we've had along the way, and always being there, and from not just this budget, but being so thorough and transparent. But for you guys, just continue to do an amazing job, and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
The chair, I'd just like to thank you, Leanne, for getting this budget done in such a timely fashion. I know it was very challenging trying to come up with the savings we needed to make it a balanced budget, and you did it with flying colors as usual. Thank you. And your staff.
All right. There's no further questions or comments that we'd like to make this time. We're going to move on to item 31, follow-ups and reports and announcements.
Thank you. Just one, tomorrow is the annual torch run for in support of the Special Olympics of Northern California. Our regional law enforcement agencies take part, and tomorrow it begins at 8 a.m. at Yuba City Police Department and finishes at Veterans Park in Marysville, and we typically have folks from the probation department and the sheriff's office take part. So if anyone's available to come out and cheer them on, please do so.
Okay. Correspondence, I guess, received and filed.
Yes, Chairman, all correspondence have been noted and filed.
Thank you. We'll start with the board report, supervisor reports, or if anybody has any letters of condolences they'd like to have sent out.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I just wanted to give a request from Sheriff Barnes will appreciate this, from District 1, the brains of Sutter County, and truly proving it, because I was at Live Oak High School's graduation and was there and met the 2 valedictorians and 2 salutatorians, and really, when I was looking through the program, I could not believe how many scholarships that all these kids won, and it was really impressive. And so what I'd like to ask is not just for Live Oak High School, but Live Oak, Sutter, everybody in our district, if you guys would like to bring the salutatorians and valedictorians in and maybe give them a letter of or whatever, congratulatory letter, and maybe we can do that at the next meeting. So I know I've talked to Stephanie already a little bit about reaching out and getting some of the contact information there. So, and then also I just wanted to commend all the first responders. Last Friday, as I'm sure you all heard, there was a terrible, a couple of accidents on Highway 99 in Live Oak, and man, I had to watch a lot of it, and will tell you that the fire, sheriff, and the EMTs just did an incredible job there. And unfortunately, we had some deaths, and they loaded up some people and life lighted them out right there on our slab there at Lomo. And but my gosh, they just were so professional and just absolute pros. And man, just God bless them, because just to have that ultimate respect that they have to deal with that on a daily basis. So a big shout out and a thank you to them. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Supervisor Conant.
Yeah, I'd like to start off with a letter of condolences please send out to Dale Schultz's family. Dale passed away at the age of 74, May 10th, 23. In his home in Arboga, so he lives in Yuba County. But Dale was born in Sutter County in 1948. He attended Marysville High School, a class of 67. He was friendliest guy you can imagine. I've known him for years, and always had a smile on his face and a good story to tell. He was very active in his church and his family, and always had things to do with his family, and I'd just like a letter sent to him. And also, Dan, I think you got an unfair advantage of road repairs done in your county. If I did the math right, I'm guessing your district got 50% of roads repaired this fiscal year. I'm not even close to 5%. Thanks.
All 2 miles of the road.
All right, Supervisor Ziegemeyer.
few things. I'd like to close in memory of Mark Doring. Amazing guy. Grew up in the area. Actually grew up in Gridley, Doran's Mandarin Farm there. That's going to be a huge loss. Passed away unexpectedly. And Robert Carr, the Carr family, big supporter of Sutter Huskies. And Ron Ringen, former veterinarian here in the area. Yeah, very sad. Like to send condolence letters to them. I want to thank my fellow supervisors for coming out and supporting Sutter High School baseball team state championship last week. That was really awesome. The sheriff's department, thank you guys for doing what you do, and the fire department. I believe we're working on one for tomorrow evening at 6 because the Sutter Trap team won the state championship. And that's amazing because when they first started not too long ago, there was only a few teams. Now there's a ton of teams. Marysville, Colusa, Yuba City, everyone has trap teams. So they won the state trap championship this past weekend. I'd like to send them a plaque too. We already talked about doing a plaque for the baseball team, which we gave to them. That was really awesome. A couple individuals. Congratulations, plaque to Landon Sable and Jagger Beck on making the all-section Sac Joaquin baseball team. And I believe, Scott, your son and Matthew and Landon Sable both made the Optimus team, which is the very, very best baseball players in Northern California in higher divisions for that. So that is huge.
Congratulations.
Want to get those fellas something, and like I said, looking forward to tomorrow evening. We're putting it all together with the help of our amazing sheriff and our awesome fire chief and staff. And it's really awesome that you know this is something that we said, hey, let's host state championships in the East Lake High School, Sutter High, and and Live Oak High School, the schools in the county.
Should we change the name of Acacia Boulevard to like Championship Row, or what, we just keep bringing them in,
Supervisor Flores.
First of all, I want to wish a happy birthday to our Sheriff Barnes over here, and Supervisor Baines is going to sing a solo.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sheriff Barnes. Happy birthday.
There you go. Now, who's ever had that done before? Good job. That was awesome. That was awesome. All right. So happy birthday, Sheriff. I'd like to also request from the board that we do a certificate of recognition to Chris and Sandy Drown, the Happy Vikings, 15 years old this year. I can't believe that, but 15 years old. I want to mention and invite everybody to the Farmers Market down on downtown Plymouth Street in the 2nd District, the heart of Sutter County, which is great. We like to Saturday mornings. We have a great Farmers Market, Thursday evenings as well. Please join us. And last Saturday night, I just want to mention, last Saturday, we had a huge celebration for Sopa Tai. And, Sopa was here tonight, and we recognized her. I do want to mention, because Steve mentioned this earlier, but the ARPA funds, Sopa was one of the recipients of that, and she would not have survived. Her business would not have survived if she didn't receive those ARPA funds. And she was very grateful, and she actually mentioned that tonight as she spoke to us personally up here. So it was a great job on behalf of this board to be able to support the local businesses as we did. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made it, especially those small restaurants. They work so hard to keep going. And then I want to request from the board if we could have the September meeting at Yuba City High School, if we could actually set that up. I'd really like to see that happen. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thanks for that beautiful solo.
Through the chair.
Yes,
sorry, I forgot about this. I'd like to send a congratulations certificate along to Mia Chata, who won the Marion Hughes Award, which is it's a Northern California award given to elementary students in 8th grade. It's a really, really big deal. I mean, there's thousands of kids that put in for this.
Through the chair, just one last quick thing, because now that Supervisor Flores mentioned it, I know the next one we had talked about doing at Live Oak High School, and I'm totally fine, but I'd like to be third. Okay, at least we did Sutter. We're doing Yuba City. He beat me to it again. So if we could do that, maybe the following quarter, sometime, maybe before, I don't know, December or something. I don't know. Just putting it on the list for District 1.
Maybe we should just do the rotation like we talked about, one every quarter, and just get all of the.
It sounds like a great idea, Supervisor Conant.
I thought that's what we were going to do at one point. Yeah, but I guess that kind of went by the wayside.
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so I'd like to support the folks that were here earlier and prepare a resolution in opposition of proposed SB 403. Then I have some letters of sympathy and condolences I'd like to be added to the letters that are going out to Mark Doring's family and also for Robert Lee Carr's family. But letters go out to the families of Gary Gildemeister, Denise Gillian Long, Jazz Dave Daddy, Dave Armstrong, June Elizabeth Otto, and Robert Jensen. And if there's nothing else that to add, we'd like to look for
move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. Meeting.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at PlumasLakeSelfStorage.com.